Hidden deep within Japan's northern wilderness lies a mystery that rewrites everything we thought we knew about the nation's past. Beneath the polished image of modern Japan, its neon cities, its ancient temples, its proud traditions, lurks a buried story. A story of a forgotten people whose blood runs through the land itself, but whose existence was nearly erased from history. They are called the Ainu, Japan's indigenous people. Once free hunters, fishers, and storytellers of Hokkaido, they carried an identity so distinct that it defied the image of a pure Japanese race. For centuries, their language, their rituals, even their faces were suppressed, forced into silence under the weight of a nation obsessed with unity. But science has begun to uncover what history tried to bury. Ancient DNA, unearthed from prehistoric bones and modern descendants, tells a shocking truth. The Ainu carry one of the oldest genetic lineages in East Asia, tracing back over 14,000 years to the very first humans who set foot in Japan. And their story is not just about survival, it's about what it means to lose your place in your own homeland. By the late 1800s, Japan was changing faster than ever before. The Meiji government, eager to modernize and compete with the West, forged a single national identity built around the Yamato people, the ethnic majority who defined what it meant to be Japanese. But for the Ainu, who looked, spoke, and lived differently, this new identity became a weapon. The state labeled them former Aborigines, relics of a primitive past that had no place in modern Japan. In 1899, the government passed the so-called Hokkaido Former Aborigine Protection Act, a law that promised protection but in truth delivered assimilation and control. Ainu children were forced to take Japanese names and speak Japanese in school. Tattoos, sacred rituals, and hunting traditions, symbols of their identity, were outlawed. The Ainu were stripped of their land as Japanese settlers flooded into Hokkaido. Ancient forests were cleared, rivers dammed, and fertile hunting grounds vanished. The Ainu were pushed into farming, a lifestyle foreign to them on barren land that could barely sustain life. Poverty spread, disease followed, and soon the once proud people of Hokkaido were scattered, silenced, and rewritten out of the nation's history books. For decades, Japan taught that it was a land of one race, one culture, one people, erasing the Ainu from memory. Yet their silence was never complete. Deep in northern villages, whispers of their songs and stories survived, passed down through generations like fragile embers waiting to reignite.
To uncover who the Ainu truly are, we must journey back far beyond Japan's written history into the age of the first settlers known as the Jōmon. Around 14,000 BC, long before rice farming or emperors, Japan was home to hunter-gatherers who built a world unlike any other. They fished its rivers, carved tools from bone and stone, and created pottery older than those found in ancient Mesopotamia. These were the Jōmon people, masters of the Paleolithic world. Archaeologists and geneticists now believe the Ainu are their living descendants. Ancient DNA reveals a clear connection, shared paternal haplogroups like D1b, and maternal lineages such as N9b and M7a, markers that trace directly to the Jōmon. These genes are among the oldest in East Asia, predating the great waves of migration that would later reshape the continent. But the Ainu's genetic code carries more than just ancestry. It tells a story of isolation. While the rest of Japan mixed with new arrivals from the Asian mainland, the Ainu of Hokkaido remained largely untouched, a living time capsule of prehistoric Japan. Their DNA also hints at faint echoes of contact, small traces of Siberian and Okhotsk peoples who traded and intermarried along the northern seas. Yet these influences never erased their unique identity. Instead, they forged a people who stood apart, ancient in blood, yet profoundly connected to the land and the spirits within it.
Roughly 3,000 years ago, a new wave of migrants arrived from mainland Asia. They were the Yayoi, rice farmers, metal workers, and warriors, who brought with them advanced tools, new beliefs, and a way of life built on agriculture. As they spread across the Japanese islands, they encountered the Jōmon, the ancestors of the Ainu. What followed was not just a meeting of peoples, but a collision of worlds. The Yayoi cultivated vast rice paddies and built permanent villages, while the Jomon lived close to nature, hunting, fishing, and gathering. Over time, the Yayoi's technologies and growing numbers began to dominate. Across most of Japan, the Jomon were absorbed, their culture slowly fading into the expanding Yamato civilization that would one day define Japan. But in the remote north, in the cold forests and rugged mountains of Hokkaido, the descendants of the Jomon endured. Separated by sea and climate, they evolved into a distinct people, the Ainu. Their way of life, centered on respect for the spirits of animals, trees, and rivers, preserved the spiritual essence of the Jomon world long after it disappeared elsewhere. When modern Japan later claimed Hokkaido, it was not just land they took. It was the last living fragment of an ancient civilization. The Ainu stood as a reminder that Japan's roots were never as simple, never as pure as the textbooks claimed.
For the Ainu, language was never just a tool. It was the soul of their people. Their words carried rhythm, spirit, and harmony with nature. Unlike Japanese or any known Asian tongue, the Ainu language stands alone, a linguistic mystery with no confirmed relatives. Some linguists suggest distant echoes of ancient Siberian dialects, but its structure, tone, and poetry remain uniquely Ainu. It was a language of the earth, filled with words describing the subtle moods of snow, the movements of salmon, the voice of the wind. Each phrase reflected their deep bond with the environment, their belief that every living thing, every element, possessed a divine essence called kamui. Ainu spirituality was not confined to temples or scriptures. It lived in daily life, in how they hunted, how they carved wood, how they sang to the rivers. They believed that bears, owls, trees, even tools had spirits deserving respect. One of their most sacred ceremonies, the Iomante, was the bear sending ritual, a solemn act where they honored the bear as both prey and god, thanking its spirit before returning it to the divine world. Their art was equally spiritual. Intricately carved prayer sticks, known as inao, and their embroidered robes of elm and nettle fiber carried protective symbols, geometric patterns believed to ward off evil. Every stitch, every pattern told a story, binding the maker to their ancestors and to the unseen world. But as Japan's rule tightened, these traditions were branded as primitive, outlawed, and nearly forgotten. Today, only fragments remain. Songs sung by elders, carvings in hidden villages, and the echoes of a language spoken by fewer than a handful of people. Still, even in this silence, the Ainu spirit whispers, a reminder that culture, no matter how suppressed, never truly dies.
For decades, Japan's official story claimed its people were one, descended from a single, pure lineage. but modern science has shattered that illusion. As geneticists began to map Japan's DNA, they uncovered something the history books had long denied. The Ainu are not a vanished tribe. They are the living key to Japan's origins. Why DNA analysis revealed that the Ainu carry haplogroup D1b, one of the rarest and most ancient male lineages in East Asia. It's found only in small pockets across Tibet, the Andaman Islands, and Japan's north. This discovery proved that the Ainu's ancestors, the Jōmon, were among the first people to ever set foot on the Japanese archipelago, thousands of years before the Yayoi migrations. Even their maternal DNA tells the same story. Haplogroups like N9b and M7a appear in both Ainu populations and the remains of prehistoric Jomon skeletons, confirming an unbroken line stretching back over 16,000 years. A few Siberian markers appear too, suggesting limited contact with northern peoples, but the Ainu's genetic core remains uniquely ancient, untouched by the agricultural waves that reshaped the rest of Asia. This means that within Ainu blood lies the echo of Japan's first civilization, a lineage older than the emperors, older than the myths of the sun goddess Amaterasu, older than Japan itself. And yet, while their DNA became the foundation of the Japanese people, the Ainu themselves were denied recognition, their identity buried under centuries of assimilation. It wasn't until 2008, only recently, that Japan officially acknowledged the Ainu as an indigenous people. Today, small steps are being taken to reclaim what was nearly lost. Ainu cultural centers teach the old language again. Ceremonies once forbidden are performed openly. Young Ainu artists and storytellers are reviving ancestral crafts with pride. But these are not acts of nostalgia. They are acts of resistance, reminders that survival alone is not enough without remembrance. The Ainu story is Japan's mirror, a reflection of what happens when a nation tries to erase its roots, only to rediscover them in its own DNA.
The story of the Ainu is not just a tale of a lost tribe. It is a warning written in blood and silence. For centuries, they were told they did not belong, that their faces, their language, their beliefs were stains on the image of a modern nation. But no matter how deep a history is buried, truth has a way of rising. Through bones, through songs, through the code written in every cell of their bodies. Science has now confirmed what their ancestors always knew. They are the children of the first dawn in Japan, guardians of a heritage stretching back to the Ice Age. Their DNA carries memories older than empires, older than borders, remnants of a world where humanity lived in harmony with the land, not apart from it. And yet, their struggle continues. Many Ainu today still face discrimination, still battle for recognition, still fight to preserve what little remains of their culture and language. But against all odds, they endure. The songs are being sung again. The ceremonies are returning. The Ainu name, once silenced, is being spoken proudly once more. In the end, the Ainu story is not one of defeat, it is one of remembrance. It reminds us that the soul of a people can never truly die, as long as someone remembers their story, speaks their language, and honors their past. Because history may try to erase them, but the land of Japan still remembers their footsteps. And in the quiet forests of Hokkaido, where the rivers whisper and the wind carries ancient voices, the Ainu spirit still lives.